Hello and welcome to this new episode of us building Pairi Daiza. My name is Sharpaka and today we are building the Oasis, which is a huge greenhouse inside Pairi Daiza. For those who don't know Pairi Daiza, I'm doing a series of us building it completely. It's one of the most beautiful zoos I've ever seen. I think maybe even the most beautiful one. It's got a lot of focus not only on animals but a lot on architecture as well. And really how it all looks, it's just amazing. They've won multiple prizes for being the best zoo in Europe, and I'm so happy to be doing this, and I'm really stoked to keep going forward. We're building this building into 2 episodes because I think this is just gonna be a little too much work. So far I've built around 6 or 7 hours maybe, and I think there is about 4 hours left. The hardest part has been done though. I think the hang bridges were really the hardest part, and just figuring out like the proper ratios. Because last time, I feel like I've been saying this for every episode, but last time I haven't been in this area as I have been with some other areas, just because of the corona and the COVID situation. It's been a little hard to navigate the park. It was a very busy day as well. I think it was right before they cut down the amount of guests that were allowed in the park. And that just led us to not having seen a few areas of the park, so I really had to go off images I haven't taken myself. I hadn't been there, so I really took my time to figure out what it should look like. So this was what it will look like after this episode, but there's another episode coming. I don't think it's gonna be on Wednesday though, because the new DLC is dropping on Tuesday, and we are gonna build the Southern Cape, which is the Australia themed area of the park, on the Wednesday episode and on the Saturday episode as well, and maybe even I guess next week as well, because yeah, there's just so much to build. We've got the koalas coming, we've got the cassowaries, which are also in Pairi Daiza, and I think it's gonna be awesome to build. I'm a little sad that there is no Tasmanian devil, but I mean, the team has done their best so much. The DLC looks really awesome. There's gonna be a lot of content coming. So be sure to subscribe for all this goodness, and if you like this video then do leave a like, I appreciate it a lot, and do let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. I really read them all, I answer them all, I appreciate it a lot. So sit back, relax and enjoy. So right now we are building the first part of the restaurant, and for this restaurant I wasn't 100% sure how it looked because I only had some pictures from afar which I hadn't taken myself, and as I said I hadn't been there this time. So yeah, I just went off imagination and what I thought it would look like in this setting. So I used a thatch roof. I think in real life it's a metal corrugated roof, but I didn't really have the part in plan 2, so I went for a palm thatch roof, which I think in the setting of this building works out quite well, and I love it in the end. And for this restaurant you'll see me add, I think, a fries place and a soda place, I think it is. I'm not 100% sure if it's soda, but the fries I'm pretty sure of, because I mean we're still in Belgium and we've gotta have the fries, right? We make the best ones, and if you're ever able to come to Belgium, then be sure to eat some, because ours are simply the best. I mean, sorry guys, but it is how it is. Alright, let's move on to placing some more rocks and just some nature down. So we've got this big lake. I'll add a picture in the bottom right of how it looks from this angle, I think. And yeah, we have this big lake. I took a long time to figure out what the proper ratios were of how deep it should be, how big it should be. I think I made it a little bit too big if I'm looking at the picture, but I mean if I made it smaller it wouldn't have looked right, I think, in Plan 2. So I'm kinda like I'm on both sides this time. I'm not 100% sure if it's correct, but I think in Plan 2 it looks quite alright, so I'm not gonna be finicky anymore with it. I think what is kind of an issue though is that these rocks are desert rocks, and I think we could have let this wait until we had the Australia DLC, because I think the rocks in the actual Oasis are more of a red rock, which you have more in Australia. But I mean, with the desert rock it looks quite okay, and with all the plants around there it's gonna look quite good. I mean, I think for now we don't have enough plants yet added to this Oasis, but I think it's gonna, the more plants I add the better it looks compared to real life, because in real life it is like walking through a jungle. There's plants everywhere, there's rocks everywhere, birds are just flying around everywhere. That's a little sad that we couldn't add any birds because we don't have any yet. I'm hoping for a birds DLC, as I said in the last episode. I don't think it's coming quite soon, but I mean, I'm really hoping for it. I think the most prevalent animal in this oasis in real life are the toucans, and there's some sloths as well. You really have to be lucky to see them though. I don't think I've ever seen a sloth in the oasis. So yeah, you really have to look for it and find it, because there's so much nature where they can hide in, and I think you really have to be a little lucky to spot them. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding an exhibit. I don't think there are any exhibits in the actual oasis, but I wanted to be able to draw people to here and to walk around it, because I'm really like, it would be sad to build it if no one ever came here, and I think if I only built restaurants here, I don't think I would see a lot of people coming in here. So I just added that. I embossed it a little bit with some rocks so it doesn't like stick out, but I think it works out quite well at the end. You'll see the first people coming in now. So I quite like that I did it, even though it's not 100% representative of the real park, but that doesn't really matter. I think you want to be building the one-on-one recreation, but you still have to work within the limits or the ideas of the game, so that's why I built this. And I think it works out quite well in the end, especially since I don't think there would have been enough people coming into the oasis as it was without the exhibit. I haven't tried it without the exhibit, but I mean, this works out quite well. So yeah, right now you'll see me add some more rocks, and I think I'm gonna build a terrace now for the restaurant. I added a few benches, not too many. I wanted to have the guests have some space. I think I'm gonna have to add some more bins because they do like to litter. I mean, there's quite some bins around, and yet like everywhere, there's trash everywhere. I've got about, I think 7 or 8 cleaners or janitors, I think they're called, and like they don't have the ability to clean it fast enough because people are just throwing their stuff everywhere, which I really don't like when visiting a zoo people would do that. I mean, I think it just doesn't happen these days in zoos. I mean, I've seen it happen like at the beach, everyone throws their trash everywhere, which is an absolute shame. But I think when visiting a park like this, you don't really do that. So it's kind of sad that I don't think you can turn it off. If you can and I'm wrong, then do let me know. So what I did first is build an actual path here so we can place some benches around, but I'm gonna lay that over with some, I think, wooden planks that work better in this setting of the oasis. So yeah, people won't be able to walk everywhere and we won't be able to place benches everywhere, but I think this just looks plain better. So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad that people can't walk everywhere, because soon I'll be building the hang bridges as well, and people won't be able to walk over there, but it just looks really awesome. If you haven't seen the screenshots which I posted on Twitter, do go and see them. It's awesome. You have this view from the restaurant onto the hang bridges and onto the Cambron Abbey, which you can see through the greenhouse, which is really awesome. I do think that the actual greenhouse is like a matte glass, so you can't see through it. But I think in game it looks really pretty, so I'm not gonna be changing that. I think I might add some like plants which grow on top of the glass or something, or on the side of the glass, which might look cool. I'm not 100% sure because I don't really want to lose the view on Cambron Abbey, because I really think it's quite an awesome sight to see. So yeah, right now we're just adding more plants, and that's gonna be the theme for most of this video, I think. Before we start building the hang bridges, is just adding some plants, finding the right plants for the right place. I'm adding mostly the tropical plants because that's what actually is an oasis as well, and there are some cactuses in the oasis as well, so you'll see me add some of those as well. And then what I like to do is actually grab trees and use them as bushes, because some of the bushes in game I think look worse than when you actually take a tree and you just lower it down into the ground until it becomes a bush. And that's what I really like to do. Right now I'm just adding some like branches everywhere, which I found in some pictures, some hanging on a rope. I don't really know why, because I find it kind of weird. But I mean, it is so in real life, so I wanted to, like, the key elements of the park, I really wanted to try and keep that preserved. For this as well, I saw a picture with some rocks in this river. The thing is, I have some different pictures which I don't really know which year they're from, so I don't really know which is the more recent one. and since I haven't been there myself, it's been kind of hard. But I think it works out quite well. I mean, especially these areas which I don't really have the most recent pictures from, or I don't really know how it looks right now. I just kind of have to go with the imagination, and I don't really have to like put every bush in exactly the same place that it is in Planet Zoo or in Pairi Daiza, because that would just be infeasible to do. But I really like how it worked out in game, and that's, I think, the most important part. So what I discovered, by the way, which is really awesome, I was looking for something to like cover the ground, because I felt like I was placing a lot of plants, but I was having a hard time to make it like look like actual nature, because I didn't really have anything to cover the ground itself. Because sure, you can color the terrain with like a grass type or a long grass, but I didn't feel like that was working for me, or what it should look like for me. So what I did is I actually went into the habitat options, and you've got this small bedding or the medium bedding with leaves, and I think these leaves look really nice when you place them underneath the plants, because then it looks like there is actually some ground covering. It doesn't really work for like slope terrain, because it's only like on a flat surface. But when you place multiple on top of each other, you can deal with that slope terrain, and I kind of tried to do that, and it worked out quite well in the end. I think it looks a lot more filled, and it looks like actual nature now. So yeah, that's a bit of a tip I can give you now, is to try and use those beddings for your advantage. So yeah, right now I'm gonna try to build these hang bridges. It hasn't been easy, because I wanted to try to find the right angles. I didn't really have any like perfect pictures from how the angles look, from how the platforms look. So I kind of had to go with my imagination for that as well. But I think in the end it turned out quite alright. It took me quite a while. I think the hang bridges alone took me about maybe 2 hours. I wasn't too good at this. I haven't made them like actual like hang bridges are always like a curve, but for this I used, I think, the straight rope, and I always took pieces of 2 or 4 meters, I'm not sure, and then I just went for a straight part, and then I just like straightened it out a little more, or made it a little more going into the deep. I mean, it's been quite a finicky thing to do, especially because at first I built it really short, but apparently in real life, I mean, I misjudged the picture I saw, and it's way longer in real life compared to like the second bridge, which is apparently a lot shorter, which is a wooden bridge as well, and not only a hang bridge. So it was finicky. I had to go back and forth into building this, but in the end it looked quite alright. So the first thing I did is just add the ropes, and then based on these ropes I added these planks, and then I just threw it all together, and it ended up quite alright. I'll show you some pictures in the bottom right of what I had to go off of, and in the end, I mean, I would walk over that. It looks quite safe, it looks quite alright. Right now, of course, you don't really see what it's gonna become, or well, you kinda see it, but it's not obvious yet what it's gonna become, I think, in my opinion. But I think in the end it works out quite alright. You've got what you've got on those hang bridges is you don't have like a straight or a proper fence to grab onto, but you have these multiple ropes. It's like a mesh kind of rope thing. I just used straight ropes. I didn't go for a mesh because it just didn't look right, and I didn't have like any short ropes. The shortest rope I had is 2 meters, which I'm using right here, and that just would have been too much, because I think the ropes in Pairi Daiza aren't that long. It's only to grab on the sides, but it's not taller than yourself or something like that. So I didn't go for that, and I think the way this looks like right now in Planet Zoo, it looks like quite right. It might not be exactly the same, but I'm not gonna be worrying too much over that. The problem I had right now was just that I made it way too short, and then I had to lengthen it, and it was honestly a pain in the bum. I'm not gonna be whining about it, but it was hard. It was hard, absolutely. I'll put these on the workshop as well, like the bridges themselves. I don't think I can put the entire Oasis on the workshop because it's gonna be way more than 5,000 pieces. But I'll try my best to like upload the items separately. I'm not 100% sure on how to do it yet, but I'll try. So what I did now is just like grab that same bridge and just like lengthen it out a little bit, made an extra part from it, so people can actually get onto it as well, because I feel like right now it would have been dumb if I had just like taken a separate platform and not even like people not even being able to get onto it. So I added this path, which I think is like, I just added this so people like could have the idea of getting onto it, but the hang bridges themselves don't actually allow people to go onto them. So they can like go up to the first platform, but the actual bridges themselves aren't reversible by guests, which is kind of sad. But I couldn't get any paths under there, which looked all right. It would just, because the paths are actually, when you raise them up, they have like this thick piece underneath them, and it doesn't look all right. It just looks a little awkward and a little odd. So I didn't go for that. I think the smallest path is 4 meters also, and the path is only, or the bridge itself is only, I think, 1 meter wide. So it would have been a little awkward. So yeah, I just didn't go for that. I don't really mind people not being able to walk over there, but yeah, it's what it is, and there's nothing to do for it. So yeah, let's move on, placing some more nature around everywhere. I think like the idea of this is that it is really like walking into a jungle, and the jungle needs to be filled with plants, like filled to the brim with a lot of different types of plants, and you really have to feel like you can like get snuck up on by an animal everywhere, and that's just the idea I went for. I'm still like adding a lot more nature than it looks like right now, because right now it's still quite empty. And yeah, I'm trying my best here to do that, but it takes a long time, because you have to, like, it's not only placing a lot of plants, but they have to look well together. You can't just go ahead and placing cactuses amongst other random European plants. You have to kind of figure out how it really has to look. So right now, adding this like the carrying rope, I think it is, on the drawbridge, which was a neat idea. I didn't think of that at first, but you have to have something that keeps your support ropes onto, like, on the height, just so you can like actually grab onto it and be safe. So that's what I added as well. And then for now, I'm gonna add the second bridge, which is actually, I think, a wooden bridge. So it's a lot sturdier. It feels safer, I guess, because a lot of people I know don't really like the hang bridges because they feel like wobbly, and some people just don't really feel that they're safe onto them. I have a little bit of fear of heights myself, but I mean, I'm quite alright with the drawbridge, and with not the drawbridges, I'm not in a castle, with the hang bridges, because I know, like, being an engineer myself, I know that they are quite safe, and it's just, as long as I can grab onto something, I'm quite alright with heights. It's just the moment you're like up high and you feel like there's nothing in reach to grab onto, that's the moment that I'm just like, nope, ain't gonna happen. But this I'm quite alright with, and I mean, yeah, I think it turned out quite alright. It's, as I said, this part is a bit finicky. When I discover that it's just not long enough, then I just gotta like go over everything again and again, and rotating this was a pain. But I mean, in the end, I think I even like raised up the platform a little bit, because it was just, I mean, it was just a pain. Let's leave it at that. It was just a pain, and it worked out in the end. That's what I'm gonna leave it at. I raised this platform as well because I was just tired of fiddling around with the bridges itself. So yeah, fiddling around with the platforms is a lot easier than actually fiddling around with the bridge itself. So I added these ropes as well on the second bridge, which I think look quite nice. They don't really bend through, but I'm not gonna mind that. Maybe I'll add some poles to it later, so it makes more sense that they don't bend, but I haven't done that so far. there's quite a lot of more detailing to be done to every part basically, but I think the real detailing is for off camera, and then right now I'm just trying to get the idea of the Oasis ready. So I'm really hoping you like this. It took me, I mean, quite a while to do this, especially fiddling around with the water and making it look the right height and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm really happy how it turned out. So right now I'm figuring out these moss rocks. I still haven't quite figured out how it works, because you have like these normal moss rocks which are just completely filled with moss, and then you have these dynamic moss rocks which, I mean, sometimes they're filled with moss and sometimes they're not. I'm just confused how it works. I can't really seem to find out a system, because at first I thought it was always the top that was mossy and the rest was just like a bare rock. But then I placed it in water and then it wasn't, just the top, and it was, I don't know, I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. So I just used the normal moss rocks, and I've put them inside of other rocks, which, I mean, it looks all right. I think next to the waterfall and next to the water that there's some moss rocks, but it took me a while just to figure it out how it works. And then right now I'm adding like a little separate entrance to this hang bridge. At first I'm using this path, but as you can see it's quite wide compared to the bridge itself. So then I discovered, or I remembered these, I think they're called Planet 2 beams, something like that, which I used as a little stepping stone. You see these often at like children's parks where they can jump from one to another, and I think this works out quite well in game. I don't think it's actually this way in real life, but that doesn't matter. Again, just this looks alright in real life, and I'm really liking how it turned out, and like I would love to walk on that. And then to finish it off, I added some safety ropes so you can grab onto it again. Especially for children on this area, you really have to be able to like give them some protection to grab onto something. So yeah, this was it for this episode. Let's go through the Oasis once more, and yeah, leave a like if you liked it. Leave a comment if you're thinking something that I should have done better or that I could have done better. Absolutely comment that below, or what you think of this park. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one, where we are building the Southern Cape with the new DLC from Planet 2, which is gonna be absolutely awesome. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.